affirmative takedown.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Andrés Guardado here, back with another video. Hey, so we had a big one over this weekend. So at the time of this filming, we're currently 248 subscribers deep in the domination. So, woo! That's so exciting. I'm so excited you guys are all here. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and just stay tuned. There's always more and more to come. There's always just tons of just ideas just dancing around in my head. So once I get them out here in words and on video, it's gonna be a good time for everybody, for y'all, for me. So that's awesome. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Dom, and I make videos doing makeup tutorials and also talking about various topics as well as doing song covers. Make sure to come back here every Monday for Makeup Monday and every Thursday for Framing Thursdays.
So like this video, comment down below, share with your friends, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I make videos every Monday and Thursday. Monday, Thursday. Other days are just kind of like bonus. Okay. You done it before? You subscribe? Did you do it? Subscribe? You did it? You did it? Okay, let's begin.
So today I'm going to be correcting, debunking, reviewing another video by a conservative. Her name is Sydney Watson. You can tell by the accent she's from Australia. I can't remember, I don't know which part. I didn't look that much into her, I'm not gonna lie. Normally I do like my oppo research, but like nah, it's like, I can tell by the accent alone she is Australian. She lives in Texas, in the US as of now, and then you're gonna see in the background she has like a Trump 2020 plaque, and I'm just like, ew, that's gross. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. But yeah, she's gonna try to claim that white privilege isn't real and that white people actually have it harder in America than everybody else, which is definitely not true. She's gonna make a lot of straw man arguments, a lot of cherry picking, a lot of logical inconsistencies, and then she's got a few sources linked in hers for once. Like, you know, classically Abby and a lot of them don't ever link anything. Like, they be bold as hell and like making all these claims, looking like, show me the proof. Like, what is the reason? Yeah, let's dig in. She's gonna start off making fallacious statements with cherry-picked examples of, you know, oppression against white people. Because honestly, in the scheme of things, they're just gonna be oppressed so bad. Like, they just wanna be the victims. It's a constant like state of like projection. Like, they say that we want to be victims because they actually want to be victims.
Recently, this photo went viral, showing a man kneeling on a child's neck while another person holds that child down, and some absolute garbage human takes the photo. And it has the caption, BLM now MFer, which I guess stands for many fun. Mother funner. Much flowers. Least stop. Anyway, I don't know about the rest of you, but nothing says to me, let's fight racism, quite like kneeling on the neck of a completely innocent child, who happens to be white. Sounds like progress, really out here improving those racial relations. Very good. Now, this story bothered me for a bunch of fairly obvious reasons, and while children are fairly weird and loud, I still have a massive problem with people messing with them. Children are so innocent, and I don't really understand why adults bring them in on particular issues or use them as political props. Or endanger their lives. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to stop doing that. I feel like this universally, no matter what the kid looks like and no matter what the situation is. I feel this way every time I watch drive-by shootings where kids are around. I don't understand people. Now, the other problem with this story is that it didn't get any national coverage. At all, which I guess goes to show that the media is only interested in pushing a specific kind of victimization story. And it usually involves nooses and fake hate crimes. Really determined to walk that line of getting banned again, aren't you? I do what I want. I think most of us can say fairly definitively that had a picture of a white person kneeling on the neck of a black child gone viral, then the story would have been everywhere. Because this child has all sorts of white privilege, this abuse does not result in any national media coverage at all. Terrific.
So I do actually agree with her about the children part. Like, I don't get why anyone would try to hurt a child. The child just happened to be born white or born black or born Hispanic or Asian, whatever. And if I was having in front of me, I would be that dude's ass, especially if it was one of my cousins. Oh, it would have been on and popping. Like, it just, that man would not be like, he might be in a hospital, just best believe, because I don't play about children. But I think what's even more disgusting to me, honestly, is that the fact that these conservatives, more specifically, I'm seeing a lot of white conservatives that are using this kid's, kneeling, and also the death of cute little kid too. Okay, this little kid here, and then Hinnett, who was a 5-year-old boy who was shot by a black man in the head on Sunday. They're using these little kids as political props, like literally just political props, just to, like, I don't even know, like, there's not really any justice they really need to have. Like, they're like,
why is there no public outrage for these little white boys? Because white lives matter too.
and it's like, okay, well, in the case of Canaan, so this man, Darius Simpson, this man already, was apprehended in Goldsboro by members of the U.S. Marshals Service Carolina's Regional Fugitive Task Force. He was charged with first-degree murder and held without bond. So in this case of Cannon, who was wrongfully killed, and I really do want to say, like, rest in peace to him. He didn't deserve this to happen to him. I hope his family is able to grieve his loss and hopefully mourn his loss, and that God is with them, because this really just isn't fair. And I really want to say that I really do send my condolences to his family, because this isn't right. But as far as justice goes, I mean, this is pretty much the steps that we want in our, like, this is what we're just fighting for with Black lives. Like, he killed him, wrongfully killed him, of course, and he's being charged with, like, he was apprehended by the police. He's been charged with murder, and he's not eligible for bail. You know what I mean? So justice is being served. I mean, I think they just need to, like, decide, I guess, whether he's going to be in jail for life, or, like, if he's going to get, like, the death penalty. I'm not sure how North Carolina's laws work, so I'm not going to try and speculate whether they're going to do one or the other. But, I mean, he needs to be waiting sentenced, but basically the police got him. Like, there's that justice has been served in this case. Like, it's been served, and they need to get a punishment for him, because that's fucked up. That's fucked up. And then now the case she's referring to, and of course I'm glad they didn't release the kid's name, because that would be tragic, like having to grow up being known as that kid. Which, of course, this guy was fucking stupid, not justifying his actions at all. Okay, Ohio man in custody after kneeling on crying white child's neck praising Black Lives Matter, which I'm like, bro, he had to be from Ohio. I'm from Ohio. Bro, you can't do it so like niggas like this. Ohio man who was out on parole has been thrown in jail and awaits new felony charges after a photo posted socially on social media showing him posing with his knee on the neck of a crying white 2-year-old boy alongside a message saying Black Lives Matter. Is like, okay. Speaking about being viral, I didn't see this video on social media at all, or like this photo at all. I don't know. I thought it was viral. If Black Twitter didn't see it, I thought it was viral. But nonetheless, it shows a man who was identified as 20-year-old Isaiah Jackson with his knee on the toddler's neck. So patrol units were able to determine the location where the incident took place and make contact with both the mother and the child, as well as the male sex seen kneeling on the picture. Let's see. Jackson was taken into custody and remains incarcerated in the Clark County Jail. He is waiting for the criminal to determine the scope and breadth of felony charges that will be supported by the office presentation in court, according to the Sheriff's Services. The child, who is not identified, was taken for a local examination. Was found to have no injuries leading to the accident. Thank God. Thank God. Look, Sheriff's Office. So the mother, who has not been identified, told the speakers that she was unaware of the photo being taken or its contents until she had been informed by the parties while the sheriff's office was en route to her home to begin the investigation of the incident. Investigation is ongoing. Okay. And I see it's interesting that she left this information out. Like, she told us a story about this, what happened, which we can all agree is wrong, and you should not be hurting children to prove a point about racism. Right? We can all agree on that. But she failed to mention that this man was reprimanded and he's in jail now. Like, he's been taken by the legal system and he's been put in jail. I wonder why she forgot to mention that. Because the justice was served in this case. Like, this man did a horrible, horrible thing. But he's been punished. He's been put in jail. Okay? I wonder why she failed to mention that. Like, it's curious to me. I mean, maybe she didn't mention that because it doesn't fit into her narrative that the system doesn't care about white people. That's probably why she didn't mention it, you know? Because it wouldn't fit into her white narrative of victimhood. Her white victimhood of like, oh, look, no one cares about white people getting hurt. Well, I mean, why are they protesting for these little white boys? Well, because justice was already served. He didn't have any injuries, and also the cops handle it. They got the guy who got him. Like, they're punishing the correct, accountable party. There's not gonna be any need for us to protest because justice has actually been served. But that's what we want for our cases, like the case of Breonna Taylor, who was just sleeping in her bedroom. The police came in and shot her like 8 times, and she was still even alive for like 5 minutes, and they didn't get any help for her. Just inhumane. You have the case of Aiyana Jones, who was only 8 years old when the Detroit SWAT team came into her house and shot her in the head. And I don't see you do anything, no one on the right do anything about those cases, where these people were doing nothing wrong, and they were shot dead for no damn reason, or anything for any other race. White dude they got, like, he was wrongfully killed, and we'll say his name, we'll say Cannon's name, we'll say George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Aiyana Jones Stanley, like, and even also too, Andrés Guardado. He was an 18-year-old baby who the police shot. It was unarmed for no damn reason, and I don't see them do shit about that, because they don't really care about justice. They don't care about people who are being hurt by the system and getting away with it. People get killed, like, they're killing people and getting away with it. They don't care about that. They just only care because black people and Latin people won't shut the fuck up about our lives mattering. These things just so we like, okay, black people shut up. Black people shut up. We don't care, shut up. We don't want to hear about it, shut up. That's the only reason they're saying these things. Like, the only reason they bring that up. So now white privilege is real, so they can't. So racism can't be real. White privilege isn't real. So black people, shut up. Latino people, shut up. New people, shut up. Racism isn't real because we still have hard time being white. And well, full straw man shit to do to maneuver these arguments is like, damn, like, you really suck at debate, huh?
In a recent episode of the Oprah Conversation, Oprah and an NFL linebacker spoke to several white guests who admitted to their racism, because of course they did.
White people, there are white people who are not as powerful as the system of white people, the caste system that's been put in place, but they still, no matter where they are on the rung or the ladder of success, they still have their whiteness.
Well, would you just look at the time? I have to go jump in a river. She follows these comments by saying, you still have your whiteness. That's what the term white privilege is. It means that whiteness still gives you an advantage no matter. Oprah, I'm just wondering, should we consider your exorbitant net worth to be some sort of reparations? Just asking for a friend.
Okay, that racial comments was mad racist because, okay, so because one black person is rich and famous, now the whole country's absolved of slavery while the majority of black people live in poverty? Like, that makes no fucking sense. That makes no fucking sense. Like, and also, I mean, people took a lot of things from this interview, like, wrong. Like, someone was, like, saying that someone who's, like, a black billionaire is better off than a homeless white person. It's like, no one's saying that. Like, obviously, that poor homeless white person is like having is worse off than Oprah per se. But we're saying if like you have a poor white man and a poor black man, people are more inclined to help the poor white man because of implicit bias. That's all we're saying.
Now, around the same time as the Oprah clip, I also found this other clip, which also discusses white privilege.
It's like they hit us all at once. When you say hit, if you mean using anti-white rhetoric to call out your disgusting, immutable characteristic of being white, over which you have no control, but still makes you a disgusting bigot and a pig anyway, then yeah, I guess you could say they're hitting you.
Why are you using immutable in quotation marks? Like I have some sort of control over it. I have no choice in this.
Only black people have no choice in things. You would know that if you didn't have so much white privilege.
Yeah, where people of color don't talk like that. So I mean, not to be rude, but these sometimes white liberals go like a little bit, like they go a little bit too hard. But like, no one says that in real life. Like she made that up. No one says that. No one says that.
Probably had discussions at home, at school, or at work, and in those conversations, you've probably heard the term white privilege. You may have even had this term used in a way that felt like an insult or an accusation. Others will have told you that it's all just made up to make white people feel bad, and none of this is right. Privilege is a hard concept for people to understand because normally when we talk of privilege, we imagine immediate, unearned riches and tangible benefits for anyone who has it. But white privilege, and indeed all privilege, is actually more about the absence of inconvenience, the absence of an impediment or challenge, and as such, when you have it, you really don't notice it. But when it's absent, it affects everything you do.
This is all so weird to me because these people act like being white is some sort of fast track ticket through a theme park where it's like, oh, you're white, here you go, here's your fast track to a happier, easier life. Enjoy your ride on the roller coaster. No one gave me a fast track ticket to life. Where's my ticket?
I think your parents have to apply for that one at birth.
I mean, in a monetary or financial sense, if you want that fast track to success, then you should probably just be Indian, or Filipino, or Taiwanese, or Sri Lankan.
This is probably the most eloquent I've ever heard white privilege like spoken about. He said it's the absence of impediment, an absence of difficulty, meaning your white privilege, right? And he's just an eloquent point, and just like he's not blaming white people at all. He's not blaming them for being white. He's just saying, hey, like there are things that I have to go through as a black man or as a Latinx person that you don't go through because of how you look, and that's not necessarily your fault. And I'm not saying necessarily that you are getting some sort of like quick pass to do whatever you want, but I'm just saying it's different. It's different. We are living different experiences because of how we look. Notice there that she completely doesn't even acknowledge this argument. Like that's definitely not at all what he said. He definitely didn't say that there was like a fast ticket you get for being white. It's nothing of the sort. She purposefully misrepresented his argument. Again, a straw man. And then two, of course, used the most racist myth of the model minority for Asians. And we'll get more into that later because she's gonna use it again because conservatives think that's always so smart. Like, why isn't it Asian privilege? We'll talk about why isn't Asian privilege in a minute, okay?
There's a good chance as a white person watching this, your life is already hard. Every day you have to overcome some difficulty or challenge just to get by, but you can still have white privilege. White privilege doesn't mean you haven't worked hard or you don't deserve the success you've had. It doesn't mean that your life isn't hard or that you've never suffered. It simply means that your skin color has not been the cause of your hardship or suffering.
This idea is so wild to me because it basically suggests that discrimination against the white population doesn't happen. And it does.
Here are some cases of white people being killed. And there's a huge difference between discrimination and racism, okay? Because no one ever made the argument that white people don't get discriminated against. That definitely does happen. That definitely happens a lot where I'm from. The difference between that and like racism is that racism is coming from the system. Like there are things put in place by our government at all levels that have in institutions like banks and things like that have stopped the advancement of people of color. So we're working to fight against those things. But let's here's a cherry pick of cases of white violence, which again is not right. I'm not saying anyone's right for killing white people, but I'm just saying these. But you know, it's all these things too, that people get apprehended for them as well. Like, watch talk about this. People get apprehended. Like, the man was caught that did this.
The white motorcyclist who was murdered recently for being white. His skin color caused his suffering. Anti-white rhetoric is literally why this murder was committed.
Navarro told detectives that he believed the person driving the motorcycle was white because in Wisconsin, white people drive Harley-Davidson motorcycles, and that the Harley culture is made up of white racists.
According to the criminal complaint, Navarro told detectives he's been the victim of racist comments from people who are all Caucasian and targeting Navarro because he is Mexican.
Navarro said that if President Donald Trump and white people are going to create the world we are living in, he has no choice, and that people are going to have to.
The woman murdered for saying all lives matter seems to have been murdered because of the color of her skin. The child being kneeled on is suffering because of the color of his skin.
He's a white Mexican, so that's interesting. If I would have saw him just in passing, I would have thought he was white. But you can see, obviously, the police have apprehended him, and this man is currently in somebody's jail. Now, let's see. Well, actually, too, I think it's funny that she didn't mention about the Wisconsin woman that was lit on fire by white people as a hate crime. But, you know, I guess that it's like, you know, that wasn't mentioned at all because, you know, it has been her narrative of white people being oppressed. But let's see how this Indiana woman, because I didn't see this one before, so let's see. A young mother was fatally shot earlier this month in Indiana and may have been targeted for saying all lives matter. Jessica Dottie Whitaker and 3 friends were hanging out along the Annapolis Canal Walk at 3 a.m. on July 5th. They argued with another group of people after one of the people Whitaker was with used a racial slur. Her bereaved fiance told Ramirez. A racially charged confrontation ensued with the other group, during which the suspect's group shouted Black Lives Matter. Someone in the group, possibly her, said All Lives Matter. Ramirez said guns were whipped out and both sides, seeing that all were armed, backed off, he said. Both sides were armed. Didn't mention that at all. Okay, it was squashed. They went up the hill and left. They thought they were sitting on St. Clair waiting for us to come under the bridge. And, oh no, sorry, it was squashed. And they went up the hill and left. We thought, but they were sitting on St. Clair waiting for us to come back under the bridge, and that's when she got shot. Okay, that's terrible. He fired off a shot in return. He fired off one shot in return and didn't hit anyone, he said. I was actually holding her when it happened. She just fell. I turned around, opened fire too, but it's just a reaction. Whitaker, a home health nurse who WTHR said is on the verge of going back to school and getting married, leaves behind a 3-year-old son as well as her fiance, mother, and numerous family members. Third shooting in a week in the same area. Her bereaved family was picking up pieces and vowing to keep Whitaker in her son's heart forever. I never need to hold her again. Told on charge with people who will be held accountable. Okay, so not any indication that she was shot because she was white necessarily. And I'm not sure. I mean, I want to know where slur was used, but I mean, this is not really. I don't even know if it's necessarily just for saying all lives matter. I mean, it just seems like they got in a heated argument, and then if someone, I don't know. If someone calls someone racial slur, I mean, they don't deserve death, but I'm just saying, like, these are heated times. You shouldn't be talking no crazy stuff to nobody, especially nobody you don't know. Like, because you think people are soft, people may actually be about that life. But no, I'm sorry, you know, I sorry for her family, and she should not have been shot. You know, she did say a racial slur, but this isn't sufficient enough to prove that she was shot because she was white. So this, okay, so that's false.
White students not getting into university because of affirmative action is happening because of the color of their skin.
She obviously doesn't do research because actually white women have been the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action Gender was a blind spot in the original affirmative action policy. Sex discrimination protections were not included when affirmative action policy was originally institutionalized in the 1960s. The National Labor Actions Act in 1965 was one of the first federal documents to use the term affirmative action to correct unfair labor practices, while the Public Works Administration temporarily followed racial proportional hiring practices, which were dismantled at the end of World War II. It wasn't until President John F. Kennedy issued an executive order in 1961 requiring affirmative action to counter employment discrimination among federal contractors with specific attention to race that affirmative action was institutionalized. In some ways, the narrow focus on race and color was the government's response to the demands of the burgeoning civil rights movement that brought racial demonstration front and center in America. However, it was not until October of 1967, following pressure from the surging women's movements, that President Johnson amended an earlier order to include gender provisions. Further actions would be taken in 1973 and 1974 to address anti-discrimination protections for people with disabilities and Vietnam veterans, respectively. Women today are more educated and make up more of the workforce than ever before, in part because of affirmative action policies. Indeed, from the tech industry to publishing, diversity has emerged as an overwhelming increase in the presence of white women, not necessarily with people of color. Incidentally, over the years, white women have become some of affirmative action's most ardent opponents. White women also have been the primary plaintiffs of major Supreme Court affirmative action cases. Ironically, the group that affirmative action helps most is one of its most stringent opponents. Statistics show that white women immensely benefit from affirmative action, but according to Vox, they are also among those who want to see it abolished. The numbers prove it. After 2 decades of affirmative action, it was white women who held the majority of managerial jobs compared to African American, Latino, and Asian American women, the supposed beneficiaries of these policies, according to a 1995 report by the California Senate Government Organization Committee.
What about America's opioid epidemic? It's even known as the White Death because it disproportionately affects white people.
I'm not really sure how opioid addiction qualifies as somehow people being discriminated against, because you did see that it does also hurt Hispanic and black people, but I mean people pointing out now because back in the 80s when crack was an epidemic in our communities, people of my ethnicity, black people, we were all just locked up and called crazy. But now in this age where people are getting rehabilitated, which they should have been doing all along. Everybody who's addiction should be rehabilitated, okay, not thrown to jail and criminalized, okay? So that's probably why they're calling it the White Death, because I mean it does. Actually, a lot of these people, more people that are Trump heirs, are like hit hardest by the opioid crisis.
About telling white people to shut up because they're white? What about university campuses that exclude white people from events because of how they look? Or having classes bashing whiteness? Or excluding white people from jobs, government assistance, or other opportunities and initiatives because of their skin color? Are these not hardships that hinge exclusively on how white someone is? Well, apparently not.
As far as diversity events, I mean, that's a hard one, because I'm like, I think there are some groups, there are just some groups that don't want white people in there, because I mean, this is the thing, that most, I think this probably just hits hard for white people because they're used to every space being available and open to them. Okay, so sometimes people of color want to be like, hey, this space is just for us. This is just for us, to talk about our experiences and feel like safe, a safe space, if you will. So some people maybe it's like, hey, safe spaces can't have white people in it. So that's, I mean, and it's not necessarily they're told to shut up. I mean, you're saying, hey, white people, why don't you just listen to what people are saying? Make sure you're not taking up too much space in these racism or any kind of discussions. Make sure you're letting people who have other experiences talk. Because again, people are used to being, used to space being made for them. So you're trying to be like, hey, make sure you listen to people too, and make sure you're taking in their thoughts as well. But of course, obviously, she is not. Which race receives more food stamps? The average gross monthly income per food stamp household is $731. The average net income is $336. 37% of participants are white. 22 are African American / Black. 10% are Hispanic. 2% are Asian, and then 4% are Native American, and then 19% are of unknown ethnicity.
Don't take my word for it. Let's hear from my friend Zuby, who has some very strong opinions about the use of the term white privilege.
Hey, what's up? This is Zuby, a real-life black man, last time I checked. And thank you to Sydney for wanting me to add to this video. So I'm going to share a couple of my thoughts on white privilege, and I'm going to try to make it quick.
Ooh, yeah, look at this. Same kind of Fox News move of using a minority from a specific minority oppressed group to talk shit about that minority oppressed group. Oh, shocker. Let's see who else has done that. Candace Owens. Who else? David Clark, I think that's what his name is. Officer something. Basically, she's just going, here's my black friend. Let's know what he says. As if just any person being black makes them the authority on racism. But okay, let's see what he has to say.
Mostly, a lot of what people refer to as white privilege is simply majority privilege. If you live in a predominantly white country, then it should be no surprise to you that you are predominantly going to be seeing white people on TV, in advertising, corporate boardrooms, etc. Right? White majority country, it makes sense. If you go to Nigeria, you'll see a lot more people who look like me in all of these places. So a lot of what people refer to as white privilege is simply majority privilege.
Fair point. If the majority of people of a certain country are certain race, ethnicity, you're gonna see most of those people. Sure, I understand that, but he brought up specifically Nigeria, which actually is part of my roots too. Hey, Naja, well, like, you know, after, like, before slavery and stuff. But anyways, point being that he is true. If you look at, I look up like Nigerian media, and there's all black people who look like this with various hair types. They do have, some people have weaves, some people have afros. Beautiful, beautiful people, right? But what, of course, he hasn't mentioned is that Nigeria has had a skin bleaching problem. Channel strolled on any Nigerian market or superstore, there is a high chance you'll come across a variety of skin blending products, from soaps to creams to serums. Black China's arrival aside, Nigeria is one of the largest markets for bleaching products. Okay, global market for skin lightening products is growing and is estimated to reach $20 billion by the end of the year, driven by strong demand among men and women across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Skin lightening products are unbelievably popular in Nigeria. The World Health Organization published an report in 2011 estimating that 77% of Nigerian women use skin lightening products regularly. This is in comparison with 59% in Togo, 35% in South Africa, and 27% in Senegal. In fact, bleaching products are reportedly the fourth most sought after item by African women, alongside essentials like soap, milk, tea, and Lagos. The skin lightening market has found a permanent home. The industry is so huge that it adequately caters to individuals of different social classes. Let's see, if white privilege isn't real, if there's racism isn't real, why would people in Africa try to aspire to whiteness and make their skin lighter? Like, if that wasn't real, if there was a problem, if there is no such thing as white privilege, why are people in Africa that are predominantly African countries that people primarily look like this, why would they want to bleach their skin? Why, if there's no white privilege? They would just be happy looking like this. Of Africans during the European colonial era, particularly apartheid in South Africa, has had a negative hold on the continent. Many parts of the community, being light-skinned is a sign of beauty, superiority, socioeconomic status. The moniker white is right has shifted from a political ideology to a daily reality for many Africans. Many women have identified that their primary motivation behind this is status, privilege, and meeting society's standard of beauty. In Nigeria, colloquial terms like yellow pawpaw and lighty, international term, have been coined to refer to those with fairer skin, and a compliment that opens up a wide range of privileges and opportunities for the recipient because of its proximity to whiteness.
The concept of white privilege is actually offensive to white people, right? It makes an assumption of collective guilt based on somebody's skin color. And that, my friends, is what we call racism. Applying any kind of prejudice or discrimination or making a huge assumption about somebody purely based on their skin color is what we call racism. So the concept of white privilege in itself is actually racist. And beyond that, it also sidelines the plight of millions and millions of poor white people. Again, if you're looking at a country like the UK, vast majority of homeless people are white men. One of the most underperforming groups in the whole education system is white working class boys. So by perpetuating this idea that all white people have this thing called white privilege, it's really not a very sympathetic or compassionate position to take. And it's also a pretty racist assumption, like I already said.
Right, you said it was racist, but you have no understanding of how racism works, because racism, again, is systemic. And nobody ever says, like, these people, again, are shawmaning their asses off. Like, nobody ever said that white people don't struggle, okay? We're saying it's not, the system doesn't add barriers for them to struggle. Let me see. Not for their race. But again, I do understand the plight of poor white people, because I know a lot of them. I'm a poor black person, and we actually all get along very well. Okay, which is the power of normal. Like, I mean, it's just kind of, again, the lack of inconvenience, the lack of impediment. That's what basically what the man said that was so eloquent. So no one's saying that they don't work hard, we don't care if they're plight, because I care about plight of all poor people and all homeless people. I feel like that should be an issue that should be addressed by our politicians more than like funding wars, but here we are.
Next up, the concept is really offensive and demeaning to black people such as myself. For non-white people, you are essentially telling all of us that society is against us, that the whole game is rigged, that I can never have this thing called white privilege, and so no matter what I do, white people are always going to be superior to me some way in terms of the way they are treated and the opportunities they have in society and in culture. This re-ingrains a victimhood mindset, and it helps to keep people down. The concept of white privilege itself, as far as I'm concerned, is simply a left-wing version of white supremacy, right? Whether you're talking to an actual white supremacist or you're talking to a woke, white progressive who thinks that they have white privilege, it's like talking to the same individual, and they don't even realize this. They both believe that white people are inherently superior, and, you know, these poor black and brown people are never going to get on their level.
Okay, so that's all false. Like, as someone who's interacted with both people, no, white supremacists and white liberals are totally different. Both can be kind of obnoxious at times, but definitely different, because again, white supremacists will, no, they will literally say that black people and people of color, brown people, yellow people, are inherently inferior to them, to white people. Versus white liberals will acknowledge a system of racism that has made it seem like that. That's not really true, but there's systemic barriers like redlining, like suppression, voter suppression laws, that have simply kept people of color down. But white liberals are at least somewhat trying to help brown and black people get on their level. Like, they're trying to. While misguided, they usually are of the mind that like we need to make changes so that things can be more equal and equitable for everybody. So we were talking about the almost like this victimhood mentality when we're talking about discrimination that has been documented. That if you talk to historians and people who study like sociology, is really happening. This is people who are sociologists. These are people who are academics who have no political bias, say that these things exist, like white privilege and racism, some racism, right? So when we're pointing out a problem, we're being victims. How does that work? Like, if you're pointing out that you have a fever and you have a sore throat and your nose is running, are you pointing out, oh, you're being a victim? Oh, do people say like, oh, you're being a victim, you just want attention? Like, no, you're saying, hey, I have a cold or I have sickness, I need help. So we're saying, hey, we need to find a way to make this system more accessible to people of color. But of course, they never see it that way. It's always just easier to say like, you're being a victim, even though, again, service protect, like, motherfucker. Who said you need white privilege? I've never heard anyone say that before. Like, you need white privilege to be successful. We're just saying, hey, I know I was told from a young age that people are gonna perceive me differently because I'm black. I was told that, and so I would try to modify my behavior to that, but then I realized, like, hey, like, I'm just gonna be myself. Like, screw it all. Like, it's pretty respectful for the most part, but I mean, just Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about.
And the last point I want to just make is, beyond the concept being myopic and nebulous and offensive to a lot of people, is it's simply not useful. How do I benefit from believing in this whole idea that all white people have white privilege? How do white people benefit from it? What are they supposed to do? How do they atone for this original sin that they've just been born with their white skin, right? The whole concept is stupid.
Nigga, do you own Google? Like, you literally, if someone wants to really get into this fight with us, people of color, as for people, like other people of color, like, or in other white people, you can Google how to, you know, help black people as a non-black person of color. How to fight white privilege as a white person. Like, these things are like, we have Google. What can white people do for racial justice? That's probably one of the first things that comes up on Google. What white people can do to end racism. Well, there actually is like a list of things they can do if they really are committed to equality, like you say everyone is, but funny. Just saying, you know, just atone for this. There's nothing atoning that needs to be done. It's more so it's just like using. Dear white people, here are 10 actions you can take to promote racial justice in the workplace. Let's see here. Come here to the and it's like we're just asking you to be anti. In conclusion, her video was very ill-researched and very unfactual. Like, I pretty much made everything that she had said. Again, I feel like conservatives tend to be very like reactionary, and they just want us to shut up about changing the world and making it more equitable, but obviously you're gonna have to kill me, so there's that. So again, the sources linked down below, you can explore more and leave questions and comments down below. I'm not sociology majored, so I can try my best to answer your questions. But yeah, if you got this far, thank you so much for watching. And if you like what you see, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe with your friends, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.